So welcome back, everyone. I'm excited about now bringing on my next guest, and I wanted to say this because I love my show. And the reason why I love my show so much is because of all the great information that we have. We go from soup to nuts, I said it earlier, and we do. We're live on Facebook, so hi to everybody out there. Like us and follow us. We will share the show later on. My next guest has been on with me now several times. I have with me Todd Jarman, and you're the owner of Jarman Insurance. Now, today you said, Carol, because you talk a lot about Medicare, but today you said you want to talk about 65 and younger.
Yes, individuals and families, I feel like it's kind of a often neglected subset of the population, as I've found out over the last few years, and just recently too, just a lot of different cases, and I felt like it'd be important to talk about today.
I do too, and there's a good reason, because a lot of people, you had said before you came on, that a lot of people, you'll ask right there in some of the networking groups that you go to, how many people have insurance? And some people will say, maybe 2 people will raise their hand out of whatever, because a lot of people don't, they can't afford it.
Yeah, there's a lot less than I would have expected. Either it's too expensive, or they feel like, well, I'll just go uninsured. And they just really don't understand kind of what's out there to help them out, and it's a lot more affordable than they might think.
So let's talk about the options that people have out there.
So the biggest option is going to be the marketplace, Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and we're not really allowed to call it Obamacare, but that's where people kind of know it as. It's the exchange. That is the main place where insurance companies go to sell insurance, where you buy insurance. And the advantage of the marketplace is they're going to look at your total household income. They're going to look at your household size, age, gender, and depending on where you fall in that, you can get a subsidy to help you with your premium. So instead of paying $1,000 a month, it could be a couple hundred, it could be free, depending on all that.
Well, your service is a free service to people out there.
Yes, absolutely.
So when you sit down and you're hearing this, it's very important that you make that call. A lot of people try and do it on themselves, right? They do it by themselves, and they end up probably paying more money than they have to. Is that correct?
All the time. So if I get someone that calls me up and they, hey, I already had a plan last year in the marketplace and I paid this much, and they kind of tell me what their household income is, I mean, that kind of sounds off. I'll pull up their application and I'll see an error almost every single time, and it's like, hey, you did this. And then we run the numbers, comes back cheaper, and they're super excited. So it happens a lot.
A lot. Now, do you work nationwide?
Absolutely, all 50 states, yes.
So that's also what makes you stand out, because you work in the fact that you work nationwide. There's a lot of people that come in here, they leave, they go to different states, and when they leave, let's say right now, if they were to leave and go to another state, I know that might be a snowbird, but also other people do it all the time.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a snowbird to actually leave the state around this time.
Yeah.
But you can help them if they go to another state, or they're going to be gone for a while because they might need insurance, where they would go there and now their insurance, they're not covered. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And some states have their own exchanges. There's a federal exchange, and in certain states, like California has their own exchange. You got to be certified. But yeah, if someone moves, they go somewhere else, I can pull them up and I can help them out.
The phone number to call is 480-255-1076. His website is jarmaninsurance.com. You've been doing this for 9 years. It is a free service to you. I think that it makes sense. Anytime that you're going to try and get your insurance, don't do it on your own. I don't care, because you know what? First of all, you don't know the right questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you get to know somebody, you got to ask them their questions. You got to find out what their situation, and everybody has a different situation. Is that correct?
Everybody has a little bit different situation. Yeah.
So it starts with a phone call, and just talk a little bit about where you're at. Do you think that people think that the marketplace is too expensive for them to go there?
Almost every single time, because when they shop around, they look at full prices. But usually, I would say 80% of people qualify for some sort of subsidy. So they look at the full price and they kind of forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
So just this last open enrollment, I mean, almost every single time it was like, yeah, I looked at this before, but man, it was so expensive. This is way cheaper. I can't believe how that happened. Like, well, you're looking at full prices. You know, you got to add in all this stuff and do the application.
Well, that's where he comes in, and that's what makes it. It's important for you when you hear these kinds of things. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's for someone that you know. Have them talk to him. It's a free service, and he can help you by saving you money, and or getting the insurance that you were going to turn away because you thought that it was going to be too expensive.
Too expensive, or maybe you thought the deductible was too high. You know, if I get someone on a plan that has a zero deductible, like, wow, I didn't think I'd get a zero deductible. I'm like, yeah, there's lots of options out there. So.
I'm going to turn this right to you because my board operator is sitting there telling me, help me out here, okay?
Right there.
So,
is that better?
I think so, unless
Okay.
you want to raise that up a little bit there.
That's good.
So it's a live show, folks. These kinds of things
We'll
happen.
figure it out.
Okay, so let's go back to some the options that for, let's say, self-employed people.
This is a big one because, I mean, if you're self-employed and you're looking at health insurance, you know, there's two options. Either you aren't making enough money to where you qualify for a subsidy, that's great, or you're doing well and you make too much for a subsidy. Now you're paying full price, so what's the option? So there are plans out there that would be off exchange that adhere to the requirements of the Affordable Care Act. They cover the minimum value, and they are less expensive, much less expensive than the marketplace, and a lot of times they're better.
Do you think that people that are listening to this right now should have whatever they're already doing, have it checked by you?
Oh, absolutely, because if you're in the marketplace right now, you're like, you know what, I'm either self-employed or I have this plan. You know, these other plans don't have any enrollment period. So if they have a consultation with me, we sit down and it happens to be much better and cheaper than what they have, like just cancel the marketplace plan and go with that.
So the other question that I have is, how about business owners?
So business owners, so a 5 or more, I do group insurance. That's a whole another can of worms, I guess. But that is where you can get a really good deal based on how many employees you have. And so I've had an issue with people come to me and they say, hey, well, I looked into it years ago. I have only 4 employees. I couldn't get insurance. Like, well, we have options. We can do stuff that I can sell to you that you have if you have 1 employee or just by yourself. It doesn't matter.
I think it's important too for the business owners to know what's available to them because, you know, they're looking to hire and to keep employees. Right?
That's big. Yeah.
One of the things that's really big is that your prospects are looking to have as many perks as they can, and insurance is a big one. So if you can offer them insurance, that you can have a consultation with Todd, and Todd can go over it with you so that you can get something affordable to be able to offer to your employees. It's huge right now.
Yeah, if you can offer some insurance to your employee and it's better than what they see on the marketplace, I'm like, oh man, you're gonna have a happy employee. They're gonna stay around.
Absolutely, and that's important because a lot of people that I'm finding that when they're trying to get hired, they're hiring people. If they're going to find something someplace else that is offering that insurance, they're going to go there, and now you have to start your process all over. So you might as well try and get in on all of this, right?
Yep.
Again, this is a free service to you. His number to call is 480-255 1076. That's 480-255-1076. His website is jarmaninsurance.com. He works nationwide, and the big thing is that this is a free service to you. It makes sense to not do it on your own, and don't call 800 numbers.
Yeah,
that's a big thing. Why call somebody local here?
Well, I know the market. You're talking to someone that's, it's probably your neighbor, and you probably know someone that's maybe worked with me, and it's just nice having someone local, not if someone's behind an 800 number that you're never going to talk to ever again. We're
going to go to a break, and when we're going to come back, we're going to talk a little bit further about this. So important to have the health insurance first and foremost, right?
Yep.
A lot of people are saying that it's too expensive. Well, you don't know unless you talk to Todd, because Todd can find out how he can help you make it affordable. That phone number again, it's 480-255-1076. The website is jarmaninsurance.com. Hang tight, we're going to be back in just a minute. So you see the difference?
Yeah.
It's a little smoother.
Easier.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, I want to make sure I'm getting to some of these things here, because I was talking to you about self-employed, but is it different for a 1099?
If you're self-employed, you're going to be 1099.
Okay, we're going to
W-2.
talk a little bit about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, he's going to
I'm
help
gonna
you
raise this
there.
up just a little bit.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then don't be afraid to talk, I mean, directly. Boy, can you kind of point it to you that way,
Yeah.
so if you still want to face Carol,
Yep.
you guys just
So just be
right
like that?
line. Perfect, yep.
That's the closest.
Yeah,
you
'cause I
got.
had you all the way up and I was really getting you, so
Oh,
that would be
okay.
perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've done a few state farm agencies where they have like 2 or 3 employees there. They don't have enough for like real group insurance, or if they try to do it, it's super expensive. So like I have products that are, I mean, they're really, they're almost like two. When I tell employers what they are, they're like, this. I can't believe this is real, because I had one of the state farm agency. I put one of his girls on a plan. And she was planning on getting pregnant, but she was like, I'm so scared because I looked at the Affordable Care Act and it's like $5,000 for a pregnancy. This one has a $250 copay for the entire pregnancy.
You want to read that? Want to talk about that?
Same here.
Yeah.
You just can't get on it if you're already pregnant. There's a couple
I
health
was going to
questions.
ask you about pre-existing.
So that's how they get around it. So if I'm doing group insurance, it's underwritten. I can ask the health questions, but I'm not going to deny it. They can raise rates. But for this, if it's under 5 and I'm selling individually, 1099 or a few employees, there's a few health questions.
Okay.
I can't sell it to you if you're already pregnant. That would be the Affordable Care Act. Do the exchange on that, and they can't deny you. And there's there's different plans. If someone tells me they plan on getting pregnant or they're pregnant, there's ones I look at that are a little bit better, like $2,000 for a pregnancy, which is still high, but it's better than like $5,000 or $6,000, because that's what people will pay on some plans.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. You know, might as well just say you're illegal and just. We're getting kicked off the air now.
No. Depends on what station.
This station, not so much. And I know what really drove me to do this is I had a client call me from a Gold Canyon Chamber of Commerce, and they just moved from California, and her and the husband, they're 64 and 65, bought a plan on the marketplace for $1,600. And I was like, your husband qualifies for Medicare, let's get him off that, get him on Medicare. So that was like $174 for him. And then for her, if she stayed on herself in the marketplace, it would have been like $850. I put her on one of those plans, it was like $479.
Let's
And it was
talk
better.
about a story. That's
Yeah.
good. They
Yeah.
like stories. So welcome back, everyone. We're talking about 65 and under and needing insurance. And today, a lot of people are they're paying way too much than they probably that they have to. And we're talking with Todd Jarman, and he is the owner of Jarman Insurance. And we've been talking a little bit about the break of some stories of people that you've helped. Let's talk a little bit about the one where if somebody is not pregnant.
Yeah. So there's plans that we offer, if and it's really can sell to anybody, but a big thing, if I'm talking to a family, individuals are worried about, hey, if I have a baby, what's that going to cost? And on the marketplace, you could be out of pocket 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, max out of pocket on most of those plans are over $9,000.
Wow.
So potentially that's what you could pay. So one of the plans that I have, the entire pregnancy copay is only $250, and if it's a C-section, it's $500. So if someone sees that, they're just like, oh, it's almost too good to be true. Well, you just can't be pregnant at the time you get the plan on that. But that's a huge relief for a lot of people, and they're not spending thousands of dollars.
And the
on
only
that.
thing is you can't be already pregnant,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Right. But it's very important to this for people, especially young families today. I guess it doesn't matter, young or old, for you to be able to get health insurance and to be covered and to feel secure. Why talk to someone like you?
Well, that's a big thing. I mean, for example, the pregnancy, they're worried about if you get pregnant, how are we going to pay for this? Or if you have a big family, what if your kids get hurt? You know, my buddy, his kid broke his arm playing by a piano the other day and broke his arm. People are scared of those things. Like now they got to go to the ER. They got to pay their copay. Most marketplace plans, their copay for ER is like $2,000. How are they going to pay that? So having the right insurance based on your needs and something affordable is going to make a huge difference. Huge.
And it starts with a conversation, and your service is a free service to the families out there. He works nationwide. His phone number is 480-255-1076. He's been doing this for 9 years, and you know what? I think what really truly makes it important is, number one, is your experience, but that you also are nationwide, but that it is a free service. It makes sense. I don't know why. I think people think that that's too good to be true also.
Sometimes like, what do you charge me? Like, I'm not charging anything.
Right. It's just the information. He's going to help you to get that. You get paid by what, the insurance company?
Insurance company, yeah.
Right. So now I want to talk a little bit about this. How do, well, we're going to talk about people who are self-employed, they go, the 1099s, or people who are in small business. We're going to talk about that again real quickly.
Yeah, so a lot of times, you know, someone is self-employed, 1099, they working for themselves. You have two kind of scenarios. So either, you know, you're making pretty low income to where you qualify for a subsidy in the marketplace. Great, so it's going to be inexpensive for you. What if you're doing good? What if you make too much money according to the marketplace? What do you do? Well, now you got to pay full price for a marketplace plan. Where do you go? And you don't have enough employees to get true group insurance. So there's companies that offer plans to people who are self-employed, maybe a couple of employees, and they're less than the marketplace, and I'll argue better in a lot of ways.
How about people who have huge deductibles? How can you help them with minimizing? Listen up, everyone. A lot of people do.
That's probably the single biggest complaint. They're like, hey, I have this plan. I hate it. It has a huge deductible. What's your deductible? Oh, it's $10,000. Whatever it may be. So almost every single time, if I'm selling a marketplace plan to someone and they have a deductible, you know, or even just a max out of pocket, you want to add just some sort of accident plan. And what that does is that pays any out-of-pocket expenses associated with an event. So for me, I do some dangerous activities, extracurricular activities. You know, if I get hurt, go to the ER, have a surgery, well, my accident plan picks up those co-pays for me, so I don't have to pay that. So if a family has an accident plan, they don't care. Your kid gets hurt playing football, soccer, whatever, you got that plan that's going to pay your co-pay. You know, you have the major medical, that's great. What, can you afford to pay $2,000 for an ER visit?
I think it's important for you to tell them what you do that's major, because you know, for what you do extreme-wise, and it's extreme, for you to be an insurance agency, it's very good that you are. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I race motocross, off-road, dirt bikes, and mountain bikes, downhill. So I have a lot of experience using insurance. So I know how it works, and I know what plans pay and all that.
I've seen the scratches. I've seen what's
one.
happened to him before.
That's a new one right there.
Ooh, there you go.
So like for me, it's like I actually use it. I know how it works, and so it's like I can tell people, hey, you know, if this happens, this is the steps you're going to take.
Well, you just mentioned a story about kids who, you know, families that are worried about their kids getting into accidents or something that happens to them. You just have to be covered correctly.
Correct. Even if you have a huge deductible plan, if you have an accident plan, they're inexpensive. I mean, they're less than $50 a month. Sometimes they're 15, just depending on how many people you're covering. But that's going to make it so, like, your kid gets hurt, you're like, man, do I take him to ER, urgent care? You should just be taking him to get care and not worrying about that. So that's what that plan does. Peace of mind.
And I think what you're talking about is a layering.
A layer of protection on top of that.
A layer of protection, which is important.
Yeah.
And again, you won't know until you talk to him, and it's a free service to you to do that. It just makes sense. His phone number is 480-255-1076. That's 480-255-1076. His website is jarmaninsurance.com. It is a free service to you, the families out there. Well, you have a little bit about Medicare here. So my spouse is going to be Medicare eligible, and I'm afraid to lose my coverage. What do people do?
This is a scenario I get almost every single week at least. So, you know, a spouse ages into Medicare, but their spouse may not be eligible for Medicare, and they're working. So they're trying to decide, do I keep working to keep, coverage on my spouse? What do I do? So I'll give you an example. A client that called me, they had moved from California and purchased an insurance plan in the marketplace. It was a Blue Cross, about $1,600. Well, he had just turned 65 and was scared about Medicare or whatnot, but they saved him. His Medicare is going to cost $174.70, and then for her, instead of just being on, individual plan in the marketplace, paying $800, $900 a month, got under $500 a month, and it was better than the marketplace. So there shouldn't be any. You shouldn't be scared about having insurance. You should take Medicare and find something for the spouse. That's the cheaper way to go and the better way to go.
I think that people need to talk to you. I mean, it's all about having that conversation.
I would have people call me in their 70s. They're finally retiring, and they had worked all these years because they wanted to keep insurance. And when I tell them what they could have had and all this, they're just like, "Why didn't I know about this?" Well, they just don't know, So.
Well, I say it all the time on my show. You don't know what you don't know, and it's really very true. And that's what, I say it again, I love the show for that reason. There's so many different things that you hear on this show that give you the little bit of information gives you a lot of power, right?
Absolutely.
And I mean, the main thing is that you call them and you have that consultation with them so that they can find out what's going on with your situation. You don't know until you start talking to them, and then you can find out what a better plan for them. That's your job. That's what you research all day long. So many people try and do it on their own, and I think that's incorrect to do.
Yeah. So they think, what I have it's great. Haven't looked at it. Second opinions are always good.
Let's say somebody doesn't like their employer.
So, if someone is getting an employer plan, you're not eligible for a subsidy if you go to the marketplace. However, those other plans I was talking about, that doesn't stop you from taking one of those. There is a huge range of insurance plans offered by employers, ranging from really, really great to really, really terrible. You just don't know. But I will tell you, hey, you got a really good plan. Your employer is paying a ton of money towards this plan, and your share is really not that bad. Stick with what you got. Or if you're like, hey, I'm paying a ton of money, my employer's not paying hardly anything, well, let's look at some other options here, and you tell me what sounds good. I
do think, again, it's all about layering it, right, to make sure that you are being covered. And boy, please get yourself covered correctly. More than anything, that's also really bad. You walk in and you find out that you've got this really terrible high deductible. A lot of people don't understand that, especially younger folks. I find that they just don't get what their deductible is. And I asked my daughter, and she kept on saying, well, it's not going to cost me anything because I have insurance. I'm like, sure, you're sure?
Until they use it.
Until they use it, and
Yeah.
that happens a lot, I bet.
That happens a lot. Yeah, they either got something that was really cheap, like, I'm not going to use it. Didn't look that they had a huge deductible. Now they're using it. Oh man, I'm paying $300 for a doctor visit. Like, this is dumb. Like, what am I doing?
Again, this is a free service to you, the families out there, and don't try and do it yourself, because there's too many things that you don't know about that you'll be able to actually add on to it that can maybe lower your cost in the long run. Especially for the fact that you say that a lot of people. They're not looking at the right number. They're looking at the full price and then you may not even have it. Now you've really locked yourself out, and you don't even know until you talk to someone like Todd.
Exactly. We'll figure it out, and don't look at the full price. Do the application first. We'll check it out. And go from there.
That number again to call him direct, it's 480-255-1076. His website is jarmaninsurance.com. He does also, I'm going to just say this, I know you're talking about 65 and younger. You also help people with Medicare.
Absolutely.
As well. So 65 and older, please don't do those yourself either. That's really important. And don't ask your neighbors. Again, the number to call is 480-255-1076. Check him out on his website. It's a free service to you. It's jarmaninsurance.com.